radio, so it must be the Earl Morgan Hour. And tonight in our GoPro studios, we have three guests, two lovely young ladies and a handsome young gentleman, all students at St. Peter's University in Jersey City.
Brought to you in part by
And we're going to be talking about their internship and their college careers at St. Peter's and their involvement in the 21st Century After School program, which you've heard about many times here on the GoPro radio microphone. So we're going to talk a little bit about these young people who are all interns in that program, and it's I've seen their work, and there's something. You got to watch them. They're really into this thing. So let's first of all have your names.
I'm Noelle.
Full name.
Oh, Noelle Borders.
Right.
I'm Diamond Reed.
Diamond Reed.
I'm Kasir Bastian.
Sebastian. Where are you from?
Bayonne, New Jersey.
Oh, Bayonne. And you?
I'm from Jersey City.
Staten Island.
Staten Island. That's interesting. Okay, so also, how old are you? Give me your ages.
I'm 21 years old.
You got to be kidding me.
All
right.
I'm 20.
And you are?
25.
You're kidding. All right. Okay, folks. So we have these wonderful young people here tonight, and I'm so glad to have them because I've seen what they do working at St. Peter's College with the young kids in the intern program. And I've been dying to have them on because we have this idea that our young people are all slackers and ain't doing anything. That seems to be abroad in the land, and maybe for some it's true. But it's not true for the people who are working for the 21st Century program. Just as an example, they had a stepping program not too long ago. And I'm watching each one of the different interns were in charge of kids from different schools. And I'm watching them getting the kids out there on the floor to do their steps. And some of the interns were so into it, I'm watching them doing the steps while the young kids, these are all grammar school and high school kids, are doing the steps. So you can tell that they're really working very hard to make sure that whatever group they're working with does well. So let me ask you first of all, how does this work? Which schools do you two young ladies work at, and then?
Well, I'm working at PS 34, and she is also too.
You're both at 34. What about you?
I am as well.
You're all at 34 school. Tell me, what do you do at 34 school? What involvement do you have with the students at 34 school? Anybody?
Okay, well, I'm an intern of the class. Basically, I work hands-on with the teachers, with the kids, like help with the lessons, and we also do cheerleading as well.
When you say lessons, what lessons are we talking about?
Well, right now we're working on planning a trip project, so we get the kids thinking about where they want to visit and different things that they want to see, and we come up with like a brochure and we present it to the whole entire school at the end. Let me ask you, since you're working on that, what types of trips do they want to go on? Can you tell us?
Well, I know from the last time they did it, last cycle, a lot of them wanted to go to Paris.
Oh, well, yeah, I'd like to go with that.
California.
Can I get in on that?
I mean, I wish I can too.
Are this just a wish list, or are they actually going to go to any of these places?
It's a wish list.
It's a wish list.
Just so that they know how to go about planning their own trip and everything like that.
Let me ask you this. How long have you all been in this program? What grade are you in? What
I'm a
year?
senior, and I've been working for Dr. Webster in this program since I was a freshman.
You're a senior? Wow. And you?
I'm a junior, and I've been working since my freshman year also.
And you?
I'm an alumni. I graduated in 2012.
Oh, you're a graduate. What are you doing here? That's good. You're still working with it, though?
Yes.
That's very interesting. The reason I'm asking, I found out about this program. Dr. Webster and I go back a long, long way. And he called me to tell me what he was doing with this program. Now, I was intrigued by it because it's a wonderful program, but what he really did was he reached back to what we used to have which they no longer have. You know, there was a time when every school in the city had a shop, and we had home economics. Some genius decided we didn't do that anymore. We don't need to do that. So he just ended it. And it was that was a drastic thing to do, because now the young people who might be interested in becoming carpenters or plumbers or something will never even put their hands on a tool. And I listen to teachers that tell me that they have students who come to school with no buttons because their mothers don't know how to sew a button. I know how to sew a button, and I'm not a mother. But I understand that they took home ec out, and those things are. So he did something like put upholstery and fashion design in, which will give you some of those ideas and more. And he takes the kids. I understand that during the summer program, those students all come down to St. Peter's. And why I think that's important is that many children in our community never leave the 10 blocks that they live in any longer. That is their world. And St. Peter's may be a half a mile away. Jersey City University even closer in some cases. And they've never seen a school. They've never seen a college. So I can imagine that when they get down to St. Peter's, it must be like going to Venus.
Yeah,
with
they
them.
love it.
Yeah, and I can hear some of them saying, I want to go here.
Yeah, they do all the time.
Which was the reason why you had the program. So, can we have you, let me hear your...
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear,
Can you hear me?
Is that good?
Yeah, we're good. Just trying to talk into it.
Yes. All right, so if you have, now you have these students here, and when you say programs, what programs in 34 school do you have? I know it's in 40 school. What do you have in 34 school?
We have cheerleading, stepping, art, ovenless cooking. What else do they have?
Performing
arts, etiquette.
Teacher design.
Did you say etiquette?
Etiquette, which is something that is necessary.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I was a very, very young man, even much younger than you guys, there was a thing they used to say to us, adults used to say to us when we acted out of place. Young man, don't you have any home training?
Mm-hmm. That
That was a big insult. And somebody said that to you, that was because it wasn't just about you, it was about your family.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Because you should know how to say please, thank you, I'm sorry. And you know, it's crazy, but we don't hear a lot of that anymore. So when you say etiquette, is this what you do in etiquette class? Tell me something about how you teach etiquette today.
Well, we have a teacher who specializes in this. So every 2 days out of the week, she gets a different group. So she teaches them how to sit correctly, their manners, basic things that I think some of them are lacking.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Where in my time, you knew how to do that.
Right.
Well, maybe not posture, but you got the rest of it pretty much. And you had to say please and thank you. And there were no adults with the first name. There were Mr., Mrs., or Aunt and Uncle. You didn't dare call a guy, an older person, a guy, hi, Phil. Not if you were 10 or 12. It's Mr. So-and-so. So that's one thing you do. When you start teaching cheerleading, is this in grammar school? This is a grammar school.
Yeah.
Do they do cheerleading in grammar school now?
Not at PS34, they don't have a team, so that's why we have it in our program.
Oh, so that's in your program?
Yes.
So how does that work? If it's in your program, where do they cheer?
Well, we host basketball games. They perform at the end of the year shows, and
They have Halloween shows, Christmas shows that they perform at. So it's cheerleading, but also dance.
And what do you do at 34 school? What do you? What part of the program do you intern in?
A lot.
he's the
I
heart.
He's the heart of the program.
Yeah, I try to do my best for the kids. I do right now basketball. I have the game room going for the kids. Kids love to play video games. And anything that, the kids feel that they would need, they come to me, and then I try to make it happen for them.
When you say video games, are we talking about Grand Theft Auto? Or?
No.
Football, basketball
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I asked that question, there are video games and there are video games,
Yes.
just like anything else. And some things are not appropriate for 34 school.
Absolutely.
But basketball, and yes, that's appropriate. But do you have any of those other programs like robotics or upholstery or any of those other things? One thing you did mention that intrigued me, ovenless cooking. What is ovenless cooking? So can one of you please explain that to me?
You want to go?
Sure. Well, we actually just started that a few days ago.
Yeah.
A few days ago. So as of right now, the kids are able to use things like marshmallows and maybe pretzels to make different things. So they're using food to make arts and crafts.
How do you use marshmallows and pretzels? to
That's
do
the
arts
challenge
and
for
crafts?
them.
It's I can see that could be a challenge.
Mhm. It
I
gets
eat-
their minds going.
Yeah, which is another interesting thing. I was at 40 school,
Mhm.
and I believe the program is from 3 to 6.
Right.
And how many days a week?
Monday through Friday.
Monday through. They actually had to flick the lights to get them to leave. They don't want to go home. Do you have any problem getting them out or getting them in?
Getting them out.
It's a hard
Yeah,
area.
they never want to
They
leave.
don't like to leave. I
They-
stand at the dismissal door and it's freezing outside, but they still like to just stand outside and wait around with us.
I want everyone here to listen very closely to that, because having been a student in the Jersey City public school system myself, I went to 24 school in Lincoln High School, different than the ones that you have today, but the buildings are the same.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And at 3:00 in the afternoon at Lincoln High School, there was about 2 seconds of silence after the bell rang at 3 o'clock. And then you heard this thunderous roar. And that was all of us pounding down the stairs to get out of the building. And the doors would open and it was like a flood of human beings coming out. But to get kids to want to be in school, that is, I don't know if you kids had these kinds of programs, but
No, I didn't.
Yeah, me either. Growing up, I didn't.
that's another thing. You come from another generation. You come from a generation. Boy, you guys are young. But you're not that young. But you come from a time when things like this, we had something like this. We didn't have everything. Well, we had some of the things you had. For instance, we had intramural sports. We had track, baseball, basketball. We had those sports that we between elementary schools. Somewhere along the line that went away too. Do you guys ever have any occasion to have students from different schools compete against each other as cheerleaders or in basketball or any of those other things?
No, not yet. But we're basketball program we're starting now. We're gonna go up against. We're going to the Boys and Girls Club in downtown Jersey City. We're gonna play with some of the other students from Jersey City as well.
Yeah, well, it was that was a very important thing for us. We were able to do that, and a lot of people went on to high school and continued. Like 14 school in Jersey City and 22 school, they were the track school. They won all the time. I mean, if you had to run against 14 and 22, you're gonna lose. I went to 24. It was a very different school system. I don't know if you know 24 school in Jersey City.
Yeah.
Well, when I was in 24 school in Jersey City, there were 35 kids in my class. Only 5 of them were black.
Wow.
Only 5. Now there are no.
Completely different now.
Absolutely. So we didn't have a great track team. 14 ran all over us, but we still ran anyway. We still competed. I noticed that the program had a step. They had a stepping. What do they call that? A contest, or just an activity at St. Peter's University. I find this fascinating. that you know, it's after 3 o'clock, way after 3 o'clock. I go into a room in what is that hall in St. Peter's where that stepping?
Got a break coming up right now.
Right. We'll talk about this. We'll have a break coming, and I want to go back to that because I want to talk about how that whole thing worked out. Don't nobody go anywhere. These great young people will be right back with me.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head. This episode is brought to you in part by independent insurance agent H. Roscoe Taylor Jr., business accountant. Know Your Business, 731-733 Grand Street, Jersey City, New Jersey. Also, our friends at Declare Publishing, that's DEECLARE Publishing, LLC, reinforcing the priorities of God, family, and community through literacy. You can reach them at 1-888-350-9721. That's 1-888-350-9721.
Attention. Parents of children in Hudson County school districts including Harrison, West New York, Jersey City, Hoboken, and Union City. You may qualify for free or low-cost childcare. The Urban League of Hudson County is providing parents with the opportunity to apply if eligible for before and after school care for children 3 and 4 years old. Find out how. Come to our offices or call at 201-451-8888 extension 186. Urban League of Hudson County.
All right, we're back. This is the Earl Morgan Hour with your host, Earl Morgan. I'm flying solo tonight. My co-host, Tina Bland, is at another function. She can't be tonight, so I'm trying to do the best I can. I've got 3 students here from St. Peter's University. It used to be St. Peter's College. It's St. Peter's University now. I want you to give your names again, your age, and what year you're in college.
Hi, I'm Noelle Borders. I'm 21 and I'm a senior in college.
Hi, I'm Diamond Reed. I'm 20 years old and I'm a junior in college.
Hi, I'm Kasir Bastian. I'm a recent graduate, 2012.
Okay, now I just when we took the break, I was talking about a stepping program, or really a program they had at for the students who were in the 21st century program that these wonderful young people work for, and it took place in the college after school. Now, the interesting thing was it took place in the college after school, after 3 o'clock, after 3:15. I guess they still dismiss at 3:15, right?
2:45.
2:45, yeah.
2:45. How did they work that out? At any rate, we had to wait till 3:15, man. And the place was packed. I believe you busted kids down there?
Yes.
Okay. And they come?
Yep.
I mean, they don't go all scattered to the 4 winds and disappear. And the place was mobbed. I mean, it was full of people. To watch the other kids do, the ones who were involved in the stepping program, how is it that you get them? What is it? What causes this enthusiasm? Where does this come from? Is the program really, I mean, are they jiving me, or is that this program really that good?
No,
It's really that good.
Yeah.
If I was a student, I would sure enough want to be in the 21st century program.
Yes.
Dr. Webster, who was running that program, he, of course, he was in school with me. I was actually ahead of him. But, of course, he's very famous here. He was a famous athlete, and he was a politician here. And he seems to know what he's doing with these programs. Because he came to me and explained it to me. I thought it was great, but I wanted to see for myself because I'm a newspaper reporter and that's the way we do it. So he arranged for me to go to number 40 school with Mrs. Luce, who's the principal there. And I'm looking at these kids in there, and I was saying they must have given these kids some high fructose sugar because they were all into this thing, And they had at that school they have cooking, which they call something, or what do they call it? Not cooking,
Home
culinary
economics.
arts.
Culinary, yeah.
And they have a whole room full of brand new Singer sewing machines and upholstery, and they were starting their Lego robotics program. And I'm thinking, this is really great. This is what, this is as good as going to school, as opposed to an after-school program. And he said, well, we have these going on in the other schools, and I'm trying to enlarge it. And also, I noticed at 40 school, kids from 34 school, I think, came to swim.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Now, that was interesting because, and they have a real school, they have a real pool at 34 school. I mean, at 40 school. I mean, because I went to 24 and we had this bathtub.
Bathtub.
The Romans would have called that a bath. You take 2 strokes and you're across the pool. It's not a real pool. But 40 school has a decent sized pool. And while I was there, the kids from 34 school were coming to swim. All of this after school. This is not during the regular school day. And all the kids were there. And I thought this was important because I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's a big problem with black kids not knowing how to swim. Did you know that? That black boys and black girls don't know how to swim?
Yeah, I still don't.
You don't know how to swim?
There's our example.
Yeah, that's amazing. When I was your age, when I was a lot younger than you, there were a couple of the guys I knew that didn't know how to swim. They were kind of oddballs because we all had the YMCA to go to learn how to swim, which that pool has been closed now for almost a decade. And the municipal pools are all closed all over the country, so there's nowhere to go to learn how to swim. That's why 40 schools pool becomes important. And there were interns from St. Peter's College working there at the pool. You guys are everywhere. Why are you still involved with this since you graduated? And you're now an alumnus of St. Peter's University.
I guess Dr. Webster saw something in me that, he thought I could really help this program in.
So he kept you on?
Kept me on board.
What is your degree?
Yeah, a BA in science and mathematics.
Ooh. That's heavy, man.
Thank you.
Because I'm still trying to figure out compound interest. So anybody that tells me they got to, I'm really, I tip my hat to you if you got math down, because
Thank you.
Math is.
I'm still trying to get through long division. But okay, so you stayed, and I suppose that do you guys get paid for this? Is there a stipend or something?
We get paid.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a little bit more money for you to deal with your college bills, which is another question I got to ask, because college tuitions are getting to be
Yes.
outsized. And, this is crazy, but we could go to, when I was in college, you could go, you spend, if you spent $8,000 for 4 years, that was a lot of money.
Exactly. Yeah.
That was a lot of money. That was Harvard.
I'd rather pay that now than what we paying.
Well, St. Peter's University is a very good school,
Yeah.
but it's
Yes.
a very expensive school. And getting through and it's getting harder and harder and more expensive. But if they're turning out guys like you, it's kind of worth it. What do you want to do?
Getting into accounting. Hopefully I get my CPA.
Wait, you took science and you want to be an accountant? You want to be in the dull, gray accounting world?
Yeah. First I want to do mechanical engineering, but
Wow.
physics is physics.
I know.
Physics, man. I can tell you all the principles of physics, but don't ask me about those equations. And what do you want to do?
I want to be an actual school teacher once I graduate.
You want to teach school. Now you.
Same thing. And a journalist.
Well,
Yeah.
don't you want to do something to make some money?
That's where I'm stuck between.
I'm only kidding. Look, I was
We're
a
the same
journalist.
way.
I was a journalist. But if you want to be rich, you don't go into those professions. But at the same time, all of you now have seen what the public school system
Right.
looks like. And that gives you a preview of what life may be like. Hopefully it'll be a lot better by the time you're in it. But you can see there's a lot of problems there. And these kids are lacking a lot. What bothers me is they have less than I had, and we didn't have a heck of a lot. but we had more to do than they did. That's why this program becomes important. But you see what the problem is, and you still want to teach?
Yes.
That's
It's
fantastic.
a driving force.
Yes, I want to be a part of that building block. Like, I want to get the kids while they're young and just help them grow. Because there's not a lot of teachers that do that anymore. Because
Exactly.
a lot of them really don't care. Because you need teachers that do care, and that's us right here.
Mm-hmm.
So now, since you're in the program and you're working in 34 school, which is on Gates Avenue, I believe, right?
No, on JFK and Warner.
JFK and Warner. Okay. Since you're in that school, since you see what it's like, that's the other thing. Now, when you talk about JFK and Warner, that was a different neighborhood, I remember. I didn't even know it existed till I was a teenager because you couldn't even go up there. If you were black, you didn't even go there.
Oh, wow.
No, you couldn't do that. You certainly weren't going to the school there. 15 school, which I'm sure you're all aware of,
Yeah.
had no black kids in it at all. Not one. By the time I graduated from high school, yeah, it had changed somewhat. But you can see that happened. The neighborhoods changed and the schools changed with them. And you see what it's like being in that environment. And you still wish to go and teach. That's amazing. What about, and you want to be, you don't want to teach, huh?
I wanted to teach, but I could see it's a really difficult thing
It's
to
a
do.
challenge.
It's a challenge, yeah.
It's a challenge. You know, it's somewhat, I always think of that as childbirth in a sense. Childbirth is necessary, but I don't want to have it. I don't want to give birth. I'm glad that we have it, but I'm glad that women want to do it, but
Oh.
better than me. I don't want to do it. And I spent a couple of weeks in 22 school during the time they had the Million Man March. I had to do a feature on some guys that volunteered their time at 22 school. And I was there for maybe a week. And I could not do that job. I watched what the teachers went through, and I told the principal, I said, I don't know if I can come here and do this every day. It was hard. It was.
It's a talent.
Yeah.
It's satisfying in the sense that you're building young minds, but it's hard.
Yeah, you have to have patience. You really do.
That's
And a love for it.
Yeah, and what I'm finding is people ask me all the time, well, what happened to the schools? And that's a good question because I went to public school in Jersey City. And no one got out of school when I was in it that couldn't read and write. Believe me, that was impossible. No one graduated, walked across the stage. In grammar school, when I asked people who I went to school with, how many people graduated with you that couldn't read and write? And they look at me like, what kind of a dumb question is that? Everybody can read and write. But now we have this problem that we didn't have before. And now it is a job of teachers to solve that, to pick up that challenge and do it. What is it that you're finding with the students, all of you, that their problem, that causes this issue to, what seems to be the issue that you see from your vantage point as students and working for this program?
I feel like they need someone to listen to them. And that's what our job does. We're the people that they kind of turn to when they need someone to listen or they just need help. Because during the school day, I feel like they feel a little bit embarrassed to ask for help or to talk to.
Because they're lacking or the teachers aren't giving them that kind of attention? What is the reason for that?
I just feel like during the day they're not motivated enough because they're just giving work to do and instead of having someone sit next to them and explain this is what you have to do. But when they come to us, they love it because if you need help, Miss Noel's right here to help you write this down. Or Miss Diamond, we're right there with them.
What about you?
And I think it's just because these guys they're closer to the children's age,
Yes.
so they kind of see them as a big brother, big sister thing, so they feel more comfortable talking to them.
All right, we're going to take another break. We're going to come back and dig into this a little deeper because what you're telling me is we just went there to school and they taught us and we learned. That was it. All right, we're going on a break. Stick there, don't go nowhere. The Earl Morgan Hour will be back with these young people. You know, I hear that.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a great opportunity. If you have an event, product, service, talent, or something important to say, now is your chance. You can have your very own radio show. Whether you're just starting out or a veteran looking for a professional platform to enhance your presentation and following, the GoPro Radio Network is the premier place to cultivate and share new and exciting content. We can help you grow your audience and keep it growing long after your first broadcast. Now you have a voice. Call 212-696-8562 or visit www.goproradio.com and you'll be amazed at how easy and affordable it is to have your very own professional radio show on the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
This episode is brought to you in part by independent insurance agent H. Roscoe Taylor Jr., business accountant. Know Your Business, 731-733 Grand Street, Jersey City, New Jersey. Also, our friends at Declare Publishing. That's DEECLARE Publishing, LLC, reinforcing the priorities of God, family, and community through literacy. You can reach them at 1-888-350-9721. That's 1-888-350-9721.
Attention. Parents of children in Hudson County school districts, including Harrison, West New York, Jersey City, Hoboken, and Union City. You may qualify for free or low-cost childcare. The Urban League of Hudson County is providing parents with the opportunity to apply if eligible for before and after school care for children 3 and 4 years old. Find out how. Come to our offices or call at 201-451-8888 extension 186. Urban League of Hudson County.
This is Earl Morgan, your host for the Earl Morgan Hour. I'm here in the studios of GoPro Radio for the Earl Morgan Hour again. I'm flying solo tonight. My co-host Tina Bland isn't here, and I feel that loss. But I'm holding up as best I can, and I'm being helped mightily by 3 young people I have here in our studios that restores to some degree my faith in our young people. Give me your names again and tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Hi, I'm Noelle Borders. I'm 21 and I'm an intern in the 21st Century Program.
Hi, I'm Diamond Reed. I'm 20 years old and I'm an intern for the 21st Century Program.
Hi, I'm Kasir Bastin. I'm 25 and I'm a program administrator, 21st Century Program.
Okay, now you got the 21st Century Program is an after-school program that is run by Dr. Elnardo Webster, who in this town is very famous, and it's run out of St. Peter's University on Kennedy Boulevard in Jersey City. And I want to go into another area of this 21st Century Program, which is the summer school. Now, we had nothing like that. Summer school for us, when I was in summer school, that was a punishment. You flunked the subject, you had to take it in summer school, which meant that you had to go back to school for several weeks during July to make up your French or whatever, your math or whatever it is that you didn't pass. But this program is different. This program you got to sign up to get into. We were trying to sign up to get out of. When I was at 40 school, in April, the principal, Miss Luce, had started to sign people up in April for the summer school.
Oh, wow.
She already had 90 people, and it was April. And I said, well, what are you doing? What are you giving them? You know, free candy or something? How do you get? She said, oh, no, that's not a problem. They want to come. And I began to understand it because they go to St. Peter's University for the program. They come to the school and they get bused there. And they have the run of the school almost all day. And they've never seen anything like that. You know, when I was a student, there was one building down there that was St. Peter's College.
Oh, wow.
At Jersey City State College, one building, that main building, that was it. That was the whole thing. There was nothing else. Except a big campus, you know, green area. But there was, St. Peter's was one school, and it was interesting because you see the way I'm dressed now? They expected you to show up at school that way every day. As a matter of fact, when I went to high school, this is pretty much like what I had to look. I had to dress like this. We had a dress code.
In public school?
Oh yeah, Lincoln. Every public high school in this town had a dress code. And my class was where they started it.
Oh, wow.
So they said, they told all the senior boys when I was in my junior class that next year you'll wear jackets and ties, except if you have a leather sweater. That was the only exception to that, and that's what we did. Because you see, if they said that's what you were going to do, well, that's what you were going to do. Because if you went home and said, "Ma, I ain't doing it," she'd look at like, what do you mean you're not? Yes, you are. Or, not in this. Is that what they said? That's what you're going to do. So I look at the students coming in now with golf shirts and khakis on.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't even let you in the building like that. No, you couldn't come to school like that. Wearing jeans, we call them dungarees, and they were cheap. I mean, you know, that was considered a cheap pair of pants.
Oh, wow.
And you didn't pay much money for them. And then somebody slapped a name on the back of it and charged you $100 for a pair.
I ain't buying those jeans.
Well, that's what jeans are. I mean, they're just dungarees, and they were cheap, and you couldn't even wear them to school. They wouldn't let you. So you can see that things have changed a bit. Not that much importance, but those things do count for something. And now we have a situation where kids can pretty much do what they want. Teachers all wore jackets and ties. They didn't dare come to school without one. That was out. But my gym teacher wore a tie. So, you know, you can see that the culture has changed to some degree. But when you think about these kids going into St. Peter's College or St. Peter's University, when she explained to me, when Miss Luce explained to me how they did it, I said, well, why would you bring them to the school? She said, oh, we bust them down there. And I understand that because they have no other way to get there. And they want to come. This is not punitive. They want to be there. They had were you guys at all involved in the Shark Tank?
Yes.
Let's explain one of you please explain what the Shark Tank that you were participating in was like and what that was all about. How did you do that? What did you have the students do?
Okay, so my Shark Tank, my kids came up with a sneaker safe. And basically before that, we sat them down in a classroom and had them come up with ideas. We asked them questions like, what is something that we need that's not out yet? And I guess we had mostly boys.
A product.
Yeah.
They had to come up with a product.
So the boys were like, a sneaker safe. We need somewhere to put our money when we're playing basketball or something. So they came up with that, and then we created up with, like, how was it going to look? Like, what did you want it to look like? We got a box, and we used, like, the different colored duct tape so they can make their own boxes, slide their money in and out, and we actually put a lock on it and hooked it to their sneaker.
Now, the reason why I think this is important, I'm sure that many of the people out there in the audience has seen the Shark Tank program on television. When I first heard about this, I said, well, how is this going to work? And again, it was held at St. Peter's University. And competing schools were there to present a product. And they had to make a commercial.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we made a commercial,
they had to make
too.
a commercial.
That was fun.
Well, here's the thing that I think is important about that. Maybe I'm off base. Maybe you can, in order to make a commercial, it's a team effort.
Yes.
You have to have someone to write it, a storyboard, someone to handle the camera and make sure the audio, someone to direct it because you just can't leave people. And these are all things kids can do as a profession. they'll never see that. I'm looking at this commercial. I happen to be there. And I'm watching this thing, and I'm sitting there watching this going on. And I'm sitting there with this big grin on my face, watching these kids. I mean, some of the products they came up with were wild, but and interesting, but they were all there, and the place was, again, it was mobbed. There were several hundred kids there. And I don't know if you would bust them in or why they were there, and they were nice. I mean, and every now and then Dr. Webb said to say, now, we don't act like that, and quiet down the. But when you have that, well, that's a bunch of kids. What do you expect?
Yeah.
But, and they offered, and then they had to get up and give a
pitch.
presentation, a pitch. And my co-host, who usually sits where you are, she was one of the judges.
Yeah, I remember.
And I'm sitting there thinking, this is great. No, we didn't have anything like this. We had some things that you guys, those guys don't have. But we didn't have anything like that because, you know, television, look, I remember when there was nothing on most of the day but test patterns. So, you know, believe me, television was so new. Programs were 15 minutes long when I was a kid. So now it's a whole different thing. But I wonder if these kids, if any of them may have come to think, maybe I can do television. Maybe I can find a job doing some of this stuff. Do you think maybe some of that stuck with them?
Well, that's what we're hoping that
I hope
happens.
so.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened to me. I became a journalist, I think, because I had a teacher that said, well, I had an advanced English teacher that said, I expect you to write a story at the end of this week or something like that. And I'm a procrastinator, so Friday came and I hadn't written anything. It was due. So I dashed off this story and I handed it in. And I got to school Monday, she read my story in the class and then gave it to the class, the school newspaper. We had a newspaper then. I don't know if they still had it at Lincoln High School, with the Lincoln Leader. And it was published in the Lincoln Leader. And that was, I believe, subconsciously what gave me the idea of becoming a journalist. But that was only in high school. But it planted a seed. And I wonder if you think that maybe some of the things that you do with these kids today will plant a seed that will eventually grow into them being a chef or a designer or something like that. How do you see that? Do you see that as a possibility?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I see a lot of the things that we've been teaching them, sticking with them.
Does it change their, how can I put this? Does it change their deportment in school, though? I mean, these kids are having it rough. I mean, you know, you got to understand the difference I see with my time and their time. My first drug addict, the first one I ever saw, I was 18 years old. And we ran. He's a junkie. Well, I have a son and daughter that would have to be marathon runners if they wanted to run away from every junkie they saw. So for kids in your age, you live with this day in and day out. And many of these kids have this problem at home. And that's something you have to fight with, I suppose, as interns working for this program. You got to deal with kids coming to school kind of whacked out from bad situations at home.
Yeah.
How does that impact you? How does that make you? What do you do when you see a kid that's running into that problem? Do they talk to you about it, or can you figure out what's wrong?
Yeah, you can try to. Yeah, you can relate to some of the problems that some of these students have. A lot of us grew up in minority areas, so we kind of know what they go through. So, which is why they're probably more prone to speak to us about it.
Yeah, well, you're closer to their age, and you're a little. We have to take another break, so people stay tuned because we've got some wonderful young people in here tonight that we want to continue our conversation with. Again, we'll be right back after this break. All right, we're on break now.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a great opportunity. If you have an event, product, service, talent, or something important to say, now is your chance. You can have your very own radio show. Whether you're just starting out or a veteran looking for a professional platform to enhance your presentation and following, the GoPro Radio Network is the premier place to cultivate and share new and exciting content. We can help you grow your audience and keep it growing long after your first broadcast. Now you have a voice. Call 212-696-8562 or visit www.goproradio.com and you'll be amazed at how easy and affordable it is to have your very own professional radio show on the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Earl Morgan. This episode is brought to you in part by independent insurance agent H. Roscoe Taylor Jr., business accountant. Know Your Business, 731-733 Grand Street, Jersey City, New Jersey. Also, our friends at Declare Publishing. That's DEECLARE Publishing, LLC, reinforcing the priorities of God, family, and community through literacy. You can reach them at 1-888-350-9721. That's 1-888-350-9721.
Attention. Parents of children in Hudson County school districts, including Harrison, West New York, Jersey City, Hoboken, and Union City. You may qualify for free or low-cost childcare. The Urban League of Hudson County is providing parents with the opportunity to apply if eligible for before and after school care for children 3 and 4 years old. Find out how. Come to our offices or call at 201-451-8888 extension 186. Urban League of Hudson County.
34 school?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So I'm trying to follow her.
All right, we're back, and I have 3 students here from St. Peter's University who are in the 21st century after-school program, which is going to become a revolutionary pioneer. I believe people should see what we're doing. You know, the Shark Tank has already become something everybody else has picked up
Oh, wow.
in other school systems. It worked out so well that I've been trying to get a copy of. If you can get me a copy of the video that you did of the whole thing.
Okay, yeah.
I want to run parts of it here on my I want people to. You got to see this because talking about it is good, but to watch these kids doing this, getting up and speaking, I'm sure you had to fight them to get them. Was that a problem to get them to get up and
Yeah, because
speak?
a lot of them acted shy. Oh, I don't want to do this, Miss Noel. I'm like, come on, you can do this.
You just have to know the kids.
Yeah,
Some like to be behind the scenes, but some are actually very comfortable being in front of the
That's very
audience.
good news. That's very good news. When I was at 40 school, there was one student there who we were introduced to as formerly one of the worst students in the school. You know who I'm talking about.
Yes.
When I met her, butter wouldn't melt in her mouth.
I love her.
And I had her on the air here
Oh, wow.
because I was so impressed with her. The principal said one day I had to go upstairs and she was trying to beat this poor girl into the floor. And I said, no, that couldn't be her. She said, oh, yeah. I said, well, what happened? She said, I told her she's out of this program if she doesn't straighten out. Now, when I met her, she was the president of the class. She was, we were in the culinary arts program. And the culinary arts class at 40, the food was so good I took it home. And, you know, I said, I understand you. And she said, yes, I admit I was. Her English is impeccable. And I keep wondering, where did she learn to speak like that? It's not the way you usually hear youngsters talk in the streets. So she was a gem that got saved. I hope there were more like that in this program. That's one I met. I'm sure if I dug a little deeper, I'd find some others.
Yeah.
People whose lives will turn around. I can imagine kids coming to St. Peter's University and saying, oh, I want to go here. But you can't get there without the marks. You can't get, you got to do the work. You know, it's not like making, you know, it's not like in a rap record. This is real here. You got to buckle down and get some work done. And I hope that you guys are able to inspire them to do what's necessary. I know that this program has improved some marks, but, you know, it's not going to make everybody a student, but it will improve some marks. Have you seen any students' marks, progress since you've been in this program? What about you, first of all?
Yeah, grades, yeah, you see some of the students' grade change, but you see a lot of change in their behavior. A lot of kids that come, well, I've been here for 4 years, and I could see from the kids I was when I was an intern, when they were in the 5th grade, to where they are now in 8th grade. It's a complete drastic change.
Well, you know, the curator of the Afro-American Museum in Jersey City, and I were talking about this one day, long before this program existed, and he made the same observation I did. He said, you know, they come to us, and they're wonderful kids, and he said by the 3rd grade, the light goes out in their eyes. And I said, you notice that too? He said, yeah. You know, something happens, and it disconnects them. And your job is to keep that light on.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's got to be, that's an awesome responsibility, because we have a problem here. You know, I remember watching a program about Silicon Valley. Now, we all know what Silicon Valley is, especially since you wanted to be an engineer. And the program was talking about the lack of minorities in Silicon Valley. And one guy said, well, you know, this is essentially a white and Asian thing here. Why? Because our kids are not interested in that. They tend to get interested in being the role model. Their role models are Beyonce and Jay-Z. And, you know, one person out of 5,000 is going to be that. Or what's his name? The basketball player?
LeBron James.
Oh, they all want to be him.
His
And what, there are 500 people in the NBA?
Yeah, or just only 500 about, yeah.
About 500 people. Or they want to be, you know, Michael Jordan. They don't want to be him anymore because he's not around. But, you know, it always gets me that kids would want to buy Air Jordan sneakers. Now, Michael Jordan was a great basketball player. There is absolutely no, and I'm not a big fan of all that stuff, but he was a great basketball player. But he was a great basketball player before he had any Air Jordan sneakers.
Right.
He was, yeah.
He only got to have Air Jordan sneakers after he proved he was a great basketball player. And then they charge for those sneakers more than they charge for shoes. And I'm thinking, well, okay, but will this make you jump any higher?
Not at all.
You
Not
know.
at all. And make your pockets go low.
Right, exactly. But what I'm noticing, that's another thing. Somebody has to tell our kids that it's not as important to have the right gold teeth, the right gold chain. Those are values about what you wear. That's what you wear, not what you are. Is there any ancillary possibilities of sliding those kinds of values and lessons into what you do? I guess just your presence tells me.
You always have those moments.
Yeah, we do it all the time with our girls. Like, sometimes we sit down and
We
have
have
girl
girl
talk
talk.
with them. And we just, like, we're role models for them because our girls look up to us. So, like, things that I
can see
do,
why, right?
things that
Thank
I
you.
do, I think of my kids because I don't want them out here seeing me do one thing while I'm telling them to do another.
Right.
Yes, because children do not believe in don't do as I do as I say do. They don't buy that.
Right.
You don't do, if you're not living up to what you tell them to do, you're a phony.
Yeah.
And they don't want to talk to you.
Yes, they
Yes.
will call you out real
Right?
quick.
Yes.
Quick.
Real quick.
Well, listen, I have had a wonderful time. I have enjoyed this immensely. This is one of these kinds of shows where you go home and say, this was worth every second of it, just to see you three. So this is the Earl Morgan. I'm your host for the Earl Morgan Hour. We're about to go off the air. I want you to give your names and what you do again, all three of you. starting with
I'm
you.
Noelle Borders. I'm 21, and I'm an intern in the 21st Century Program,
And what year are you in?
and I'm a senior in college,
in St. Peter's University.
St. Peter's.
And you?
I'm Diamond Reed. I'm 20 years old, and I'm an intern at at 21st Century, and I'm a junior at St. Peter's University.
And you are?
My name is Kasir Bastian. I'm 25. I am a program administrator at 21st Century Program, and I am a St. Peter's University. Actually, it was college when I graduated, 2012.
And I'm Earl Morgan, and I'm the host of the Earl Morgan Hour. And I hope to see you again next Wednesday, same time, same station. Until then, and for my guests, thank you very much. I hope to see all of you
Thank
again.
you.
I will have you back on. I'll see you in the program. Take it easy now, and we're out.